Trump is a big fan of yours. I don't know if you've seen this, but he posted in July. So now fake movie actor George Clooney, he doesn't know that movies are fake, does he?
I don't think so.
Who never
Hannibal
came
Lecter
close
is
to making a great movie, is getting into the act. He's turned on Crooked Joe like the rats they both are. What does Clooney know about anything, says the host of Celebrity Apprentice. Clooney should get out of politics and go back to television. Movies never really worked for him.
I will if he does.
Have you thought about writing an op-ed in the Times asking him to step down? Because it worked once. Why not try it again?
He's a big fan of mine.
Donald Trump and his regime are doing everything they can to cover up his dark, sick, dastardly past. We were wondering, okay, what was their strategy going to be to block the release of the Epstein files when, based on the current law, they must be released on December 19th. And we've been flagging here what the evolving plan was by the Department of Justice and the FBI. They were going to say that they've released all of the documents that they're required to by law and that are otherwise not prohibited by court orders. Remember last week we showed you that one of the first moves the DOJ did was they rushed into federal court to demand that grand jury testimony be released when under Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E and Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6, this grand jury testimony is not allowed to be produced.
There are moments in television history when everything aligns perfectly. When the right guest appears at the right time with the right message and delivers the kind of takedown that leaves no room for comeback. September 17th, 2024 was one of those nights. George Clooney, Oscar-winning actor, political fundraiser, and the man who wrote the op-ed that changed the presidential race, walked on to Jimmy Kimmel Live just days after Donald Trump attacked him on Truth Social. Trump had called Clooney a fake movie actor who should get out of politics and go back to television.
Happy you did it?
Yeah. I'll make it kind of easy. I was raised to tell the truth. I had seen the president up close for this fundraiser, and I was surprised. And so I feel as if there was a lot of profiles in cowardice in my party through all of that. And I was not proud of that. And I also believed I had to tell the truth.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism.
So what I said this Trump regime was going to do is when the federal courts denied the production of grand jury testimony, they're going to say, see, the courts are denying the production of documents, and they were going to try to trick you and trick the public that may not know about the way court proceedings work and grand jury proceedings versus the files, that, oh, look, a court's the one blocking it, so there's nothing we can do if the courts are blocking it. We have a few things happening right now. There has been public records requests made, and we have federal judges in D.C. like Judge Tanya Chutkin expediting the FOIA request, the Freedom of Information Act request to turn over the Epstein files. We have other federal judges like Judge Berman and others.
It was vintage Trump, petty, bitter, and designed to humiliate a critic. But Clooney didn't come to Kimmel's show to apologize or back down. He came to destroy. And with Kimmel's help, that's exactly what he did. From perfectly mocking Trump's Access Hollywood tape to offering to leave politics if Trump would do the same, to Kimmel suggesting Clooney write another op-ed forcing Trump out of the race, the two men systematically dismantled Trump's attacks and exposed him as the thin-skinned authoritarian he's always been. This is the story of how Jimmy Kimmel and George Clooney destroyed Donald Trump on live television.
There is a world where we could go back to where we were. I don't think it's as likely as people think. But I was wrong about the first election. You know, I didn't think people would vote for someone who was so deeply flawed. You know, I mean, I know Donald Trump. You know, I mean, that's the thing is people. You know, I have his phone number in my phone book. He was the guy that came to the bars and asked me about which cocktail waitress was single.
Tell about something that happened to our family last week. I'm sorry, I try not to get emotional, but it was a scary story. And before I go into it, I want you to know it has a happy ending, okay? So when I'm telling this, don't get too upset, leave that to me. But a little over a week ago on Friday, April 21st, my wife, Molly, gave birth to a boy, a baby boy. His name is William John Kimmel. Luckily, her plane was not delayed because he got to the hospital very quickly. They did an echocardiogram, which is a sonogram of the heart, and found that Billy was born with a heart disease, something called tetralogy of Fallot with pulmonary atresia.
In New York, who were basically saying to the Department of Justice, all right, based on the Epstein transparency law, tell us all the documents that are out there and let us know what's included in your file. Don't try to set us up as the court. And here's what we're seeing as well. This is what Kash Patel said when he was on state regime media, which calls itself Fox, on Tuesday evening. This is basically the plan that the regime is laying out to cover up the files, just so you see what's taking place here. Patel is responding to Laura Ingraham, and they act like the Epstein files are released. So Ingraham's like, all right, so you wait a little long, but now they're out there.
And how Trump's silence afterward proved they hit every target. Before we dive into this masterclass in holding power accountable, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We're bringing you the political coverage that mainstream media is too afraid to touch. Hit that subscribe button and let's expose the truth. The backstory, Clooney's op-ed that changed everything. To understand why Trump was so desperate to attack George Clooney, you need to understand what Clooney did to him. On July 10th, 2024, just weeks after hosting a record-breaking $28 million fundraiser for Joe Biden,
Squeezed Colbert out of CBS. Then he turned his sights on me, and now he's openly rooting for NBC to fire Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers and the hundreds of Americans who work for their shows who don't make millions of dollars. And I hope that if that happens, or if there's even any hint of that happening, you will be 10 times as loud as you were this week. We have to speak out against it.
There is a world where we could go back to where we were. I don't think it's as likely as people think. But I was wrong about the first election. I didn't think people would. I didn't think people would vote for someone who was so deeply flawed. I mean, I know Donald Trump. That's the thing is people. I have his phone number in my phone book. He was the guy that came to the bars and asked me about which cocktail waitress was single. That's who he was.
This was back in the 90s.
Not that long. No, back in the 2000s, quite honestly. And so. There's this part of you that just goes, well, that guy shouldn't.
So do you think that you may have took a little bit too much heat for waiting so long? And then you'll hear what Kash Patel goes. He's like, we are putting out as much as we can that is lawful and not prohibited by court orders. Now, they're going to make the decision what they consider to be lawful. And they're going to say anything that involves privacy issues or any of these powerful men who were listed in there who were never actually charged, we can't release their names. And remember what MAGA Mike Johnson said, because we'll be creating a class of new victims. It's sick and disgusting what they're saying, but that's what they're saying is that all these other people who are listed who were never prosecuted, we can't make them the new victims.
George Clooney published an op-ed in the New York Times that sent shockwaves through American politics. The headline was devastating. I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee. Clooney didn't hold back. It's devastating to say it, he wrote. But the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe Big Effing Deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Then came the line that changed everything. This is about age, nothing more, but also nothing that can be reversed.
Do you think Trumpism lasts beyond this term?
Don't think so. I think it'd be very hard to do it. Remember this, Donald Trump is a celebrity. That's what he is. I mean, he's got he has a star on Hollywood Boulevard. I don't have a star on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm not lobbying for one. I'm just saying,
It seems like an oversight, by the way.
Hey, what's going on? He's a celebrity, and he's the president of the United States, and so he has been elected, duly elected. Fair deal. I'm not complaining about that. That's how it works.
For justice, for free speech, it was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
I know it's horrific. That's what MAGA Mike said. But I just want you to watch this. This is the Trump regime plan. They've got propaganda media Fox. That's kind of trying to tell its audience, like, so you're doing it, right? You did what you got to do. And then Kash Patel's like, well, we already released 40,000 documents. We've done a lot. And, we're just going to produce what's lawful and what's not prohibited by court orders. I want you to watch what he says right here, because this is very telling. Here, play this clip.
Mr. Director, our viewers also are just, they're chomping at the bit on why it took the Epstein files so long to be released. Any regrets there? Was that an unforced error? Just should we have gotten them out earlier? Just get them all out there? Just thought I'd give you a chance to react to that.
We are not going to win in November with this president. The op-ed was a political earthquake. Clooney wasn't some random celebrity offering an opinion. He had just raised $28 million for Biden. He had spent personal time with the president. He had insider knowledge that few others possessed. And he was saying publicly what many Democrats were whispering privately: Biden couldn't win. Within weeks, Biden dropped out of the race. Kamala Harris became the Democratic nominee. The entire 2024 presidential election was transformed. And Donald Trump? He was livid, because Clooney had done something Trump couldn't stand.
That's who he was.
This is back in the 90s.
Not that long, no, back in the 2000s, quite honestly. And so there's this part of you that just goes, well, that guy shouldn't be president. But I was wrong, and he was. And our democracy, I believe, paid a price, certainly around the world. And I worry about the possibility. I don't think it's as good as some people are afraid of, but I do worry about it. I think we're in a time where we need to, we need some interesting candidates all around the board.
Democratic side as well.
Sure. Yeah, we need interesting candidates out there.
For our journalists too, he's suing them, he's bullying them. Over the weekend, his foxy friend Pete Hegseth announced a new policy that requires journalists with Pentagon press credentials to sign a pledge promising not to report information that hasn't been explicitly authorized for release. That includes unclassified information. They want to pick and choose what the news is. I know that's not as interesting as muzzling a comedian, but it's so important to have a free press, and it is nuts that we aren't paying more attention.
To put that in comparison, Ray put out 13,000 in 7 years, and Comey put out 3,000. We're committed to transparency. We're putting out as much as we can that is lawful and that is not prohibited by court orders. And those are the things the DOJ is fighting still with judges in court to make sure we can reveal everything without breaking the law. And that's what we're committed to doing. We're doing it as fast as we can, and we're going to keep doing it, not just on this, but about Arctic frost because of this FBI's discovery of the illegal surveillance of senators and staffers. You know about Russiagate because of mine and Devin's work from back in day.
He changed the course of history by telling an uncomfortable truth. Trump has spent his entire life lying his way out of consequences. But Clooney proved that sometimes one honest voice can accomplish what 1,000 lies cannot. So Trump did what Trump always does when threatened. He lashed out on Truth Social. So now fake movie actor George Clooney, who never came close to making a great movie, is getting into the act, Trump posted. He's turned on Crooked Joe like the rats they both are. What does Clooney know about anything? Clooney should get out of politics and go back to television. Movies never really worked for him.
Listen, it's an honor for me to be here today to give the award to the fearless Emma Gonzalez. She's fearless. We're living in a time where fear is our stock in trade. Fear of Muslims, fear of immigrants, fear of minorities, fear of strong women. And because our government needs us to be afraid, the question is, are we really going to be scared of all the things that actually make America great? And if the answer is yes, then we're going to have history to answer to, because these are the ideas that are going to define us for generations. There is cause and there's effect.
This former crusader for free speech.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple. Just like dominoes, one by one, they'll go down.
That was also in 2022. And I wonder, how did that guy turn into this guy?
Who would you like to see replace Kimmel on late night?
Well, a lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent. Kimmel look, he was fired, he had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent. And more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings. But he had no ratings.
Well, I do tonight.
We have ongoing criminal investigations on both those fronts because the guy who launched Russiagate, me as a senior staffer back in House Intel, is now the director of the FBI, and I'm not going to end this mission without destroying and leveling the full weaponization that occurred before I got here.
Finally, I know you got to...
Now, while this is going on, I want to share the following with you as well. Jason Leopold over at Bloomberg. He's been an incredible, he is an incredible reporter, but he's been on this Epstein beat better than just about anybody. And here's what he says. Here's a rare look behind the scenes at the FBI's review of the Epstein files in March, based on emails that he obtained via the Freedom of Information Act request.
Every word dripped with insecurity. Trump, a man who played a businessman on reality TV before stumbling into politics, was calling George Clooney a fake movie actor. Trump, who has never accomplished anything in entertainment beyond The Apprentice, was claiming Clooney never came close to making a great movie. It was projection at its finest, and George Clooney was about to make Trump regret every word. Make sure you hit that like button if you love watching Trump get destroyed by people smarter than him. We're going to keep exposing his lies and insecurities.
That's how this democracy works. But he's also a celebrity, and he is charming, and to the people who like him, they think he's funny. To a great many others, they don't. And so when he is finished, and he will be finished, they're going to have to go looking for someone who can deliver the message that he delivered with the same kind of charisma, and they don't have that.
You almost have to feel sorry for him. He did his best to cancel me. Instead, he forced millions of people to watch the show. That backfired bigly. He might have to release the Epstein files to distract us from this now.
So redactions, you know what that word means, right? Where they basically remove or they cover up the names or they cover up portions of the emails. They redact it, they block it for whatever reason they're going to claim. Privacy reasons, ongoing investigation, has victims' names in it, whatever it is. So this redaction project was going on throughout February and March. But take a look right here. Look at this email that's sent from Leslie Bakshies to Dan Bongino. You see it March 18th, 2025. And here's what the email says. Good talking with each of you yesterday. We're happy to support. I wanted to share the below as we seek guidance from the GC, I think that's General Counsel, on the types of redactions to apply to these documents so we can process the right way out of the gate.
September 17th, 2024. Clooney walks into the lion's den. When George Clooney sat down across from Jimmy Kimmel on September 17th, 2024, the audience knew they were in for something special. This wasn't just a promotional appearance for Clooney's new movie Wolves, this was a political reckoning. Kimmel wasted no time bringing up Trump's attack. The former president had some things to say about you, Kimmel said with a grin, before reading Trump's Truth Social post aloud. The audience booed, they jeered, they couldn't believe what they were hearing.
I would expect them to go back up again. Donald Trump's numbers went up and down. A lot of things that have to be repaired. There's a lot of healing that has to happen. It's going to take. He was just this knucklehead. I knew him before he was, a president. He was just a guy who was chasing girls. Every time he went out, he'd come over and be like, "What's the name of that girl?"
He did his best to cancel me. Instead, he forced millions of people to watch the show. That backfired bigly. He might have to release the Epstein files to distract us from this now.
You see the redaction right there? We don't get to see what's listed there. Is Trump's name listed in there? What does it mean when they say, I want to share the below as we seek guidance from the General Counsel on the types of redactions to apply to these documents so we can process the right way out of the gate? Then it's not blank there. That's a redaction right there. So Dan Bongino gets this March 18th. Now, Mr. Dan Bongino, the podcaster before he got this deputy FBI director job, who talked about the FBI is doing the cover up, the FBI is involved.
And in the end, Trump, The man who always has the last word, who can't resist attacking anyone who criticizes him, went silent. That silence was surrender. That silence was defeat. That silence proved that Kimmel and Clooney didn't just roast Trump, they destroyed him. And they did it all on live TV in front of millions of witnesses with humor and intelligence and an unshakable commitment to truth. That's how you fight authoritarianism. That's how you hold power accountable. That's how you win.